To become a great writer, you need to write a lot. Writing is a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with practice. As an author and a writing teacher, I try to write at least a little bit every single day to sharpen my craft and keep myself in the habit of writing. But I don't always have a specific plan for what I want to write on a particular day. Sometimes I'm in between projects or I'm just looking to work more on a particular area of my writing. And that is when I turn to writing exercises. Writing exercises are like drills that you can do to improve specific areas of your writing craft. My absolute favorite writing exercises, ones that I turn to again and again, are from Steering the Craft by Ursula K. Guin. I have read dozens of books on writing, and this is the one book I can say with certainty has made me a better writer. So today, I'm going to teach you two of my favorite exercises from Steering the Craft and show you how I use them in my daily writing practice. Ursula K. Guin is a renowned speculative fiction author known for books like The Wizard of Earthsea and The Left Hand of Darkness. Le Guin wrote Steering the Craft for writers. In its opening lines, she calls it a handbook for storytellers who are looking to improve their craft. Each chapter focuses on a fundamental component of narrative, like the sound of language or point of view and voice. For each component, Le Guin first gives examples of that component from famous literature, then provides an exercise or several for you to work on. She follows each exercise up with some self-reflection questions so you can think about how the exercise went and improve for next time. Exercise 1, the sound of your writing. So the first exercise in Steering the Craft is on the sound of your writing. According to Le Guin, the sound of language is where it all begins. A story isn't just about plot, characters, worlds. A story is made up of language. By giving your sentences forward movement, narrative, and rhythm, you can propel your readers and create forward reading momentum. The first exercise Le Guin gives is called Being Gorgeous. Part 1 of the Being Gorgeous exercise is: write a paragraph of narrative prose that's meant to be read out loud. Use onomatopoeia, repetition, rhythmic effects, made-up words or names, dialect, any kind of sound effect you like, but not rhythm or meter. For this exercise, Le Guin says that we don't need to focus on any particular plot, so I'm just going to practice with a scene from the fantasy novel I'm working on. If you've been here before, you know it's about a pirate who's racing towards a treasure, competing against some rival pirate gangs. I want to use this exercise to practice working on my setting descriptions. Since so much of this book takes place on the sea, I think I'm going to write a paragraph that describes the sea and focuses on the repetition of the letter S. Okay, cool. I have finished part 1. Before I go on to Le Guin's reflection questions, let's do part 2. Part 2 of the Being Gorgeous exercise is, in a paragraph or so, describe an action or a person feeling a strong emotion: joy, fear, grief. Try to make the rhythm and movement of the sentences embody or represent the physical reality you're writing on. So for this exercise, I think I am going to focus on the emotion of rage. Okay, I'm done with parts 1 and 2 of my first exercise, Being Gorgeous. Like I mentioned previously, for each exercise, Le Guin gives some reflection questions for you to think about how the exercise went. For Being Gorgeous, she asks, did concentrating on the sound of the writing release or enable anything unusual or surprising, a voice you haven't often used? So for me, absolutely. I am a very plot and character driven writer, and I often find myself wanting to skip on to the next action rather than linger in a scene or emotion or feeling. I'm also not a very visual reader. When I'm reading, I rarely have a picture of what things look like in my mind. I really have to focus on that. So as a writer, I am always reminding myself to think of my sentences like mini movies for my readers to picture. So I in particular found the second part of this exercise really useful in thinking about how I can use language to evoke emotion. For me, this exercise helps me think more about the visual elements and how my sentences can actually bring my story to life. Exercise 2, repetition. Another exercise from Steering the Craft is on repetition. Le Guin tells us that writers are often told to avoid repeating themselves at all costs, which is good advice for the most part. But repetition can be a powerful tool. Repetition of words, phrases, images, events, all of these can create powerful echoes in the mind of your readers. The exercise Le Guin gives for repetition is called, fittingly, again and again and again. Part 1 of this exercise is to write a paragraph of narrative about 150 words that includes at least 3 repetitions of a noun, verb, or adjective. It has to be something noticeable, not just a word like said or was or he. Again, with this exercise, Le Guin doesn't make any suggestions for plot or story, so I am just going to open a new document and wing it. Okay, for this one, I am not quite sure what I want to write about. I checked in the book, and Le Guin says that we could use a ghost story as inspiration. So I am going to use a ghost story as inspiration. And I think I'm going to focus on the word howl as the word that I am repeating. Cool. All right. Okay, done with part 1. Part 2 of the exercise is to write a short narrative, 350 to 1,000 words, in which something is said or done, and then something is said or done that echoes and repeats it, perhaps in a different context, or by different people, or by a different scale. Now, Le Guin says that this exercise can be a complete story or a fragment of a narrative, and again, doesn't give any suggestions for plots. I don't know why, but when I was reading this exercise, the idea of a birthday party kept popping into my head, so I'm just going to go with that as a short story and see where the exercise takes me. Okay, so this one, the first one I struggled with, but this one I have a good idea, so I'm just going to jump in. Okay, done. For again and again and again, Le Guin gives us the following reflection questions. So the first question Le Guin gives us to think about is, were you comfortable at first with the idea of deliberately repeating words and constructions and events? Did you get more comfortable with it while doing it? So yes, for me. Now, this might be because in the exercise I did just before this, I actually chose repetition of the sound S as the sound that I wanted to focus on. So clearly I've got repetition on the brain today. But broadly, yes, I was comfortable with the idea of repetition and happy to use it as I was going through. The next question is, did the exercise bring out any particular feeling, tone, or subject matter or style in your work? And can you say what it was? So what I found really interesting about this exercise is how it made me visualize. As I mentioned in the previous section, I tend to struggle with visualization both as a writer and a reader. When I'm reading, I see words, not pictures. I am not somebody who gets really angry when an actor is cast in a movie because I had a clear picture of that character. I just tend to not visualize very much beyond the words on a page when I'm reading. But for some reason, the second part of this exercise just immediately made me think of a birthday party. I could picture each and every single element of the scene. The wood grain on the cabinets behind the group as they're sitting there in front of the character herself sitting looking at the 24 candles in front of her, and then later her creeping back down to the kitchen in the dark of night and blowing out the one single candle. Since visualization is something I often have to work really hard at, it was surprising to me how effectively I could visualize by using this exercise. Just the thought of echoing made this picture, this scenario just pop into my head. And that for me is the beauty of writing exercises. They force you to step outside of your comfort zone and hone your craft in ways that might not come supernaturally to you. And every single time I turn to a writing exercise, even if I've done it before, I learn something new. I probably turn to steering the craft at least once a month. I'll pick 1 or 2 exercises, set aside 30 minutes, and just see where the writing takes me. Each time I return to the exercises, they teach me something new. For instance, I've done again and again and again, but I've never seen a birthday party before. Now it's your turn. Try one of these writing exercises and let me know in the comments how it goes. I would love to hear. And if you have any recommendations for writing books that have helped you develop your skills, please feel free to share in the comments. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like and subscribe so you never miss another video from Storylab.